Fantasy, in this sense, is, I think, not a lower but a higher form of art. Indeed, the most nearly pure form, and so, when achieved, the most potent. What really happens is the story maker proves a successful sub-creator. He makes a secondary world which your mind can enter. Inside it, what he relates is true. It accords with the laws of that world. You therefore believe it, while you are, as it were, inside. But the moment disbelief arises, the spell is broken. The magic, or rather art, has failed. You are then out in the primary world again, looking at the a little abortive secondary world from outside.
Hey there, gang. I'm Danny J.
And I'm Joel N., and we are Keep on Tolkien.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. That was a really great opening excerpt, especially for this episode.
Yeah, it felt very appropriate. And for those of you who are wondering, that was an excerpt from Tales from the Perilous Realm, one of J.R.R. Tolkien's other books.
Yeah, by the man himself.
By the man from the horse's mouth.
As it were.
As it were.
Yeah. Yeah.
So welcome back. Thanks for coming back again for Season 6. So this is our second episode this season. And while you're here, go ahead and check out our weekly React videos for the Amazon Rings of Power series.
Oh, yeah. Those have been a lot of fun. We've been enjoying doing that.
Yeah, so we just finished those up. Those were a really fun thing to do in between our seasons. And overall, we enjoyed the show. It's certainly far from perfect.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's fun.
It's been good. But if you want to know more, go check out our reactions to that.
Yeah, they're really fun. Either TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah, and if you really want to know our in-depth opinion, next week's podcast episode is actually our in-depth review of the first season of the Rings of Power.
Indeed, that's going to be fun too.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.
Also, we have t-shirts now available. Yeah. Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, check out our merch store. So that's going to be at keep-on-tolkien-podcast.tmill.com. That's TEEMILL.com. Yeah, more merch to come in the future. We've got some fun stuff on there, like a tote bag and a various t-shirts and a sticker. Go check it out.
Yeah, all designed by our friends and people around us. Trevor, everyone loves Trevor. He designed the Shafted t-shirt, which is my favorite.
Yeah, friends helped us design various artworks and things that we put on those t-shirts. So go check them out. It's kind of fun.
Yes.
But for today, our subject we are extremely excited about.
Yes.
Some of you may have seen our videos online, our TikToks, and our little updates as we went on our little road trip over to Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah, and I just want to, before we start, this isn't in the outline, but we'd be remiss to not say. This is a trip that happened only because of Patreon subscribers.
This whole episode and all the content we are about to bring you is only happening because of our patrons on Patreon. You guys are the only reason we were able to afford to go do this spur of the moment little spontaneous trip,
which was so fucking awesome, and we have some great content from it that you're about to hear.
Yeah, so last weekend me and Danny and my wife Mal, we went out, packed up into Danny's car, and we drove on out to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we went to the Haggerty Museum of Art because there they have currently an exhibit called J.R.R. Tolkien, The Art of the Manuscript.
Woo, 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 yeah.
And it is a fantastic exhibit.
Holy shit, you guys. It's so fucking cool. So briefly, what is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Art of the Manuscript?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Danny. So it's an exhibit at Haggerty Museum in Milwaukee, and it runs from August 19th to December 23rd of this year, the year 2022 of our Lord.
Of our Lord, Anno Domini. And also, if you're in the Midwest or you can afford to fly to Milwaukee or fly to Chicago and then drive up there.
Yeah, it's
about an hour away.
About an hour away from Chicago.
That might be a cheap way to do it, guys. Mm-hmm. But anyway, get your ass over there if you can, because it's by the time this episode comes out, there will be a limited time.
Right.
To check this out.
It only goes until December 23rd of this year.
Yeah.
So this is an exhibit that focuses on the work of J.R.R. Tolkien, specifically his handwritten transcripts and some of his hand-drawn art.
Yeah, so cool, you guys.
It is amazing. So we're talking actual pieces of paper with his handwriting on it, like
we
the
could
originals.
See straight up the stroke of his mother friggin' pen, dog.
Yeah, random like backs of envelopes that he doodled on and shit like that.
It was like one of them's got
there.
like a grocery list on the back.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It was
and
really
not
funny.
literally, but like shit like that. Like there was just like everything this dude's ever written is sacred now. So even if there's some nonsense on the back of the piece of paper, they're gonna show it. It's you know.
So before we dive into some of the awesome, amazing things that were in this exhibit, let's throw out a little more information about the exhibit and the museum.
Yeah, so Marquette University's Raynor Memorial Libraries and the Haggerty Museum of Art collaboratively present this exhibit focused on the works and celebrated author and artist J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah, so this exhibit, it considers J.R.R. Tolkien's work through the lens of manuscripts in terms of both the materials that Tolkien studied as a medieval philologist and the manuscripts that he created while developing his collected writings on Middle-earth.
It is so cool, you guys. God, get there.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of like what inspired him and a lot of his own writing. So Professor Tolkien was deeply immersed in the complexities of manuscripts, as I'm sure we're all aware, and this exhibit will illustrate how different aspects of the manuscript tradition found expression within Tolkien's scholarly life and in his creative writing.
Yeah, and this whole exhibit is founded on Marquette's J.R.R. Tolkien collection. The exhibit also includes items borrowed from other repositories, including significant numbers of Tolkien manuscripts and artwork from the Bodleian, I hope I'm saying that right, libraries at the University of Oxford.
Yeah, so some stuff shipped over directly from Oxford.
From across the pond.
So there was a pristine collection of stuff here, you guys.
Yeah.
Many of the 147 items in the exhibit have not previously been exhibited or published before.
Never.
So some of this stuff,
out of the millions of you out there, our eyes have seen things that you've never seen.
Isn't that's when we read that, that's what made us know we had to go.
That's
what convinced us.
Yeah, that line right there.
Yeah, so that was amazing. And we're going to touch on some of this stuff. So
Yes.
The exhibit is accompanied by a 196-page hardbound catalog, which we bought.
We totally did, you guys.
Anyone that gets there, go buy that catalog.
Buy the book. It's not cheap, but it's fucking worth it.
Yeah, it's $60 American, but it literally has everything in the exhibit, like fax scanned into the book.
Importantly, you cannot take photos at this exhibit.
Correct, yep.
So keep that in mind. So buying the book is worth it because you will not be able to take any goddamn pictures.
As much as you will want to, you should not because it's against the rules.
And there is security there that will ask you to not do that anymore if you try.
Yeah, so again, the hardbound catalog, it reproduces the complete object list and includes introductory essays by the exhibit co-curators William M. Fliss and Sarah C. Schaefer.
Both those cats got PhDs.
Forgive me for not using their doctors. Yes, I'm sorry.
Show some respect for academia, Joel.
So sorry. But on that subject, let's actually talk about those two, the co-curators of this exhibit.
Let's do it. Let's
just
talk
so
about
you know what nerds are putting this together for you. These aren't just nobodies.
These nerds, and we might possibly be getting in touch with these folks. Actually.
Yeah, we're gonna try to reach out to them for some see if maybe they'll talk to us a little more about some of the stuff in the exhibit.
Yeah, because this is just an amazing experience, guys, that we really enjoyed. One in a lifetime kind of thing. But let's talk about William N. Fliss. He's a PhD in history and political science from the University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What a nerd.
Nerd alert. Nerd. Exactly the kind of person you want to be curating a Tolkien exhibit.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's king nerd. What a king.
So he's also an archivist for the Special Collections and Archives at Raynor Memorial Libraries at Marquette University in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he's the curator of the library's apparently extensive J.R.R. Tolkien collection.
Had no idea Marquette's library was so extensive.
Yeah, it's impressive. So that's kind of his background. So let's talk a little bit about Sarah Schaefer, Dr. Schaefer.
Yes.
So she has a PhD in art history from Columbia University.
Yeah, she's an art historian at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, where she teaches courses on 19th and 20th century art and visual culture.
Yeah, so another ideal person to have working on this.
Yeah.
Her current research interests include reproduction and religious, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, kitsch,
Sounds right.
and representations of fairy and fantasy in 19th century Europe.
Yes, yes.
So exactly the two kind of nerds that you would want
And they
to curate and present this to you.
They did a fucking bang-up job.
Amazing job, both.
Yeah. Let's just give them a little bit of a hand.
Round of applause. Fantastic exhibit.
Yes. Yeah, well worth the 5-hour drive.
Yeah, so initially going into this exhibit, we were just trying to find some content. We're like, well, what can we do? Let's look for some quotes that we like.
I thought we were going to have trouble finding content.
Yeah, we at first we were like, let's try to get a list. Let's try to find this, and this. Let's try to find a quote we like. Let's try to find an illustration that he doodled somewhere that we like. Mm-hmm. It was not hard.
Not hard at all.
No, there were so many things. So let's start off by just saying the exhibit. It was a few rooms. Mm-hmm. I'd say it was one, three,
4-ish rooms.
3, 4. It was one very large room and then kind of 2 smaller rooms on the wings. But
yeah,
there were 5 parts to the exhibit. Part 1 was called Rooted Works, and it was basically transcripts of works that inspired Tolkien.
This was really freaking cool, you guys.
This was cool.
They had a really old transcript of Beowulf that had the full art shit on the pages that they used to do. Oh, that was friggin' beautiful.
Yeah, so he was very much into his Anglo-Saxon.
Yes, and there were a few different ones in Latin too, because I could read them a little bit.
Oh yes, you with your Latin background.
Oh, my 1 year of Catholic school Latin.
Yeah, so there were some really cool historical documents and transcripts in part 1. Part 2, Records of Ancient Days. This might have been one of my favorite parts, actually.
Yeah, I think so,
right
too.
Off the bat. This was essentially transcripts and writings from within the Legendarium. So letters from a character to a character, within the Legendarium, or a book written within the Legendarium or something like that.
Yeah.
So it
was really cool.
There were some really cool things in that section, parts of the Book of Mazarbel.
Yeah.
He straight up drew an image.
He drew an image of a manuscript. Talk about how important manuscripts were to Tolkien. He literally did a manuscript depicting an ancient manuscript.
Yeah, literally, it's a page with a picture of a burnt up piece of paper on it, and he wrote out some of its curse, and then of course it ends in Tengwar when you've got
they are coming.
They are coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some really cool shit in this. We'll talk a little bit more about them, but part 3 was Fair Letters.
And this was all about the evolution of the scripts
that
he had done.
Yep.
Which was so cool, you guys.
They
literally had them lined up and you could see the evolution. He would have Quenya, Cinderin, and oh my god, it was
the different
so cool.
versions of Tengwar script. I was just gawking over all of the Khuzdul writing.
Oh my god, Joel was losing his freaking mind. There was so much. I would say a quarter of the shit there was related to Khuzdul language or the Book of Mazarbel.
Yeah, there was a lot of Book of Mazarbel stuff in there, a page of the Book of Mazarbel, here and there, various versions of it. And then there was a few versions of the text on Balin's tomb, the evolution of that, and then there was a few versions of the text over the Door of Durin. There was a lot of really cool dwarfish stuff that I was just eating it all up.
The dwarf stuff and the Lay of Eärendil are the two most prominent things, I think. There was so many different versions of the Lay of Eärendil, short and long.
Yeah, and so then we get into part 4, which is Old Times and Distant Lands. So this included not necessarily maps and things, but there were family trees, and there's information about Hobbit measurements and lots of family trees. Lots of family trees.
Is this the one that had the spreadsheet?
This is the one that also had the spreadsheet. It's
this
a diagram.
Was straight up one of the most, as a writer, one of the most incredible things I've ever seen for world building.
Yeah.
It was literally, you guys, a handmade fucking, like an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And you could look up the date and see what every character was doing on the date, and it would walk you through the dates of the Lord of the Rings and what each character was doing at that exact date.
Yeah, so this whole
Oh my
section
God.
was essentially like information charts and guidelines for Tolkien to follow while he was writing his narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So he had like calendars with events all lined out. Then he had like spreadsheets where you'd have events spread out by character or
Yep.
group of characters. And then it was so cool. He tried so hard to make things so accurate. And we're going to talk about a few of those things in a second here. But the final section, which was absolutely beautiful, was part 5, Glimpsing Other Worlds. And this was all devoted to artwork.
Yes. And that was like artwork that Tolkien had done just for funsies about the Legendarium, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of it was very official, like, he got a blank page and, he drew a beautiful image on it, colored it in, maybe
one of them was on and then one was on like an envelope.
Yeah, and some of them are just doodles on the back of envelopes.
Yeah.
or on the back of other papers. One thing that they mentioned a few times throughout this is how Tolkien never wasted paper.
Yeah, he learned that during the war.
Never waste paper. If there's something written on one side but the back is blank, that's a whole page for you to write on.
Yeah, don't waste paper, guys.
Yeah.
And because Tolkien, he loved trees, right?
He loved them.
So, why would he waste paper knowing that they come from trees,
All the more reason.
So, not waste paper, guys.
So, some of the things that specifically within this exhibit that we loved.
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot, and we're not going to walk you through every single thing in the exhibit.
As much as we would like to. Well, which is funny, because why, Joel?
Because you can sort of listen to us walk through the whole thing yourselves.
Yeah. We purchased some lapel mics, and we recorded our entire journey into this exhibit.
Yes. So
and we excitedly describe everything that we're looking at.
So there was no photography allowed.
None.
Specifically. But there wasn't anything against audio recording, so we put on our lapel mics, and so we recorded our entire reactions to walking through that whole exhibit, and it's fantastic. So that'll be some added content that you guys can find as a companion piece along with on the SoundCloud stream or wherever you get the podcast. Yeah, so go check that out because that was fun. That was very fun.
That'll be upcoming. Yeah, that'll be very fun.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some of the things that we loved.
Yeah, so just a few of the things that we really loved out of the exhibit. So, like I said earlier, I really liked Section 2, Records of Ancient Days, like the transcripts within the stories. I ate up all the Book of Mizarble versions that they had.
So cool.
They had least 4 different
if not more
variations, if not more, of the Book of Mizarble. They had it typed out the message. He had a few pages, like we said, where he actually artistically drew a picture of the page.
Yeah,
crazy of the Book of Mizarble. Oh my God, it was.
Some of them had blood stains on it.
Some of them had blood stains on it. Yeah, he went so far as to color some of this shit.
Yeah,
it was really, really fucking cool. And then another thing that we had. Another item that we found that was really cool. Danny pointed this one out.
Yeah, this is basically a letter from Sam, a letter to Sam from Aragorn once he's King Elisar.
Yeah, so this is something that Tolkien kind of played with, and he wrote a few versions of it apparently, but it didn't ultimately end up making its way into the textbook. I mean, into the overall narrative of the Lord of the Rings. So it would have taken place. This would come in at the end of the Return of the King, essentially after the scouring of the Shire and everything, after Aragorn has become king, and he would essentially be sending Sam a letter letting him know that he wanted to come visit. But I guess, the book already had multiple endings.
Right, yeah.
So throwing one more thing in there was probably just too much. So he had to
was too much, guy.
Just too much. So actually, we've got, like I said, we bought the accompanying book to go with it with all of these items in it. So we're actually going to give you a little sample of this letter here. Did
you want that in English or Elvish?
Oh, fuck me. Jeez. Yes, because he actually wrote it in both.
Side by side here, guys. I'm looking at one version in I'll read like a sentence. When I'm done, I'll read like a sentence or two of the Elvish just to give you a taste. It's too hard to read the whole thing now.
Yeah, so Danny's going to read us some of this letter so you can get a taste of what this was like.
Aragorn Strider, Arathorn's son, the Elfstone king of Gondor and Arnor, lord of the Westlands, will approach the bridge of Baranduin on the 8th day of spring, or in the Shire reckoning, the 2nd day of April. And he desires to greet there all of his friends. In special, he desires to see Master Samwise, mayor of the Shire, and Rosie, his wife, and Eleanor, Rosie, Goldilocks, and Daisy, his daughters, and Frodo, Merry, Pippin, and Hamfast, his sons. Aragorn, Elisar, from Minas Tirith, the 23rd day of February, 6341, Shire reckoning, I believe that means 36.
Yeah, those dates didn't line up in my head very well, so this may have been...
Yeah, I think this is an early
so
version. Disregard those years.
Yeah, those dates don't line up with the canon, the final published version, but still, pretty cool stuff.
So here's a little taste that you want to do. A little taste of the Elvish.
Yeah, give us a little
tasty. Okay, here we go. Elisar, Telkentar, Aragorn, Arthonian, Edel, Harn, Anglilnatha, Vranduniant, Eren Dothen, Ethuil. Yeah, that's
good job.
Yeah,
that's better than I'd be able to do. So I'm proud of you.
It's like the first third of it, guys.
Yeah, so that was just one of the many things we found that we thought was really cool in this section. There were multiple versions of the Lay of Eärendil, and I mean multiple. I mean
multiple,
more than a handful. He really liked to write and rewrite out the Lay of Eärendil. Apparently, he had been working on that one for a while.
Straight up, the exhibit on the outside of the door. Remember, like the decoration was the Lay of Eärendil. And there's a picture, there's a TikTok of us standing in front of it.
Yeah, that was one of the things.
Check out, if you want to check out our journey, by the way, check out our TikTok. We chronicled it all on there.
We stopped and got some cookies in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah, check out the whole trip, guys.
It was a fun little trip. Yeah, we really enjoyed it. It was a nice, 2-day trip over into Milwaukee and back. And
again, thank you to our Patreon subscribers for making that happen.
Thank you. Yes.
Round of applause. That was a fast one. Look at that.
So other things that we found in Section 2 that we really liked, like I mentioned earlier, there were multiple versions of the text over Durin's door.
Mm-hmm.
And there were multiple versions of the text on Balin's tomb that were really cool. Then there was also early versions of the One Ring text.
Yeah, him kind of working out the black speech, right?
Yeah, how he wanted it to look on the ring. And you could see it get more and more curving and I don't want to say swoopy, but longer ends to some of the consonants and things like that. It's cool. It was cool watching it, getting to literally see it develop in front of you,
in front of your eyes, and like we said, literally paper that he touched.
Yep.
I mean, there's probably coffee stains on it.
It's his handwriting with his ink and pencil, and
if you held it in your hand, you might be able to catch the flu that he had off of it. You know.
Oh,
but one of the other things we really liked was a unpublished story about Frodo meeting Treebeard, who is an evil giant.
Yeah, so we were just there was a lot to look at. So our first time through, we walked through a couple times, admittedly. Our first time through, we were just breezing through and just trying to get a sense of what was there. And I saw this, it caught my eye, and I was like, Frodo, Treebeard. Frodo never met Treebeard.
Yeah, I was like,
there
what?
were no explicit scenes between them. I was like, wait, what is this? And then the scene was really weird, and Treebeard was acting weird. And then I read the description below the item, and it was this is an early version of a story that he wrote to introduce a new character called Treebeard, who was supposed to be an evil giant.
Yeah, I guess.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah, another one we found was an unpublished letter from Gandalf that was left on Weathertop. Because if you remember in the story, all that's there is the Elvish ruin and the date he was there, remember?
Right, yep, and then everything's all burnt up.
Yeah.
But apparently he had at one point thought to have Gandalf leave a letter behind, but he, as we know, that didn't happen. He abandoned that. So here is a little bit from that letter. I'm going to do the best I can because I'm literally reading Tolkien's
his friggin' handwriting.
I'm reading this.
We're doing the job of Christopher Tolkien right now.
Yeah, like I said, we're reading this out of the book that came along with the exhibit. So I've got a picture of the transcript here. Tolkien's handwriting is notoriously hard to read sometimes, as Christopher will tell you. So a little bit from this letter that he left. It says, Wednesday evening, October 5th. I have waited 2 days. Originally it was 3 days, and he crossed it out for 2, and must go on. I still hope you are ahead. I am not, and I hope to find you. I hope you find this. Oh gosh, that's getting hard. Something about all speed for the ford beyond the troll shore. Trollshaws. And then he writes again Wednesday. Oh gosh, that's getting particularly hard to read. Okay, I think that's about as much as I'm going to waste my time on live on air for you guys.
But that's literally how it is to read these. It's a little bit hard to read these handwriting.
Yeah, and then on the page right next to this, another thing I wanted to mention, it's another one of Gandalf's letters, except this is actually the letter. This is supposed to be the letter that Gandalf left at Bree.
Oh,
he actually wrote out that whole letter. We hear of that letter, and then Butterbur forgetting it and eventually giving it to Frodo, but we don't get the letter. This is the letter.
You want to read it? He
hand wrote the damn thing.
Can you read it?
I can read a little bit of it.
Yeah, read a little bit of it. This is a loosey-goosey episode, but this is fun, guys. Reading these manuscripts.
Okay, here we go. Dear Frodo, bad news has reached me here. Must go off at once. You had better leave Bag End soon. And, oh my God, there's a lot of scrape out and write overs. And if you hear no further word if no further word comes from me, get out of the Shire as quick and as quiet as possible. I will return as soon as I can, and will follow you if I find you are gone. Leave message for me here. If you pass through Bree, you can trust the landlord Butterbur. You may meet a friend of mine called Trotter.
Oh, this is the Trotter days.
On the road. He is dark, weathered, something. He's a fellow. Okay, so I think we actually did get some of that letter in the book. Some of that does ring a bell. But nonetheless.
Yeah, it's an actual handwritten version of that letter.
Very, very cool stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very cool stuff. Oh, man. Yeah, so many handwritten letters from, one character to another character that...
So fun.
So much fleshed out.
Oh, one of the other things, you guys, this was so friggin' cool, is the diagram. They had a diagram picturing the Lothlorien time distortion.
Yeah.
Because if you remember correctly in the book, that time doesn't pass the same way in Lothlorien. This is most likely due to the power of the ring, right?
Yeah. I think something to do with the power of the ring keeping Lothlorien like a magical place.
The ring being then,
the ring of adamant.
Ring of adamant, yeah.
Galadriel's ring, yeah. But as soon as they in the books, as soon as they get out of Lothlorien, Sam
stars
comments,
are different.
Yeah,
right?
Sam comments on the moon not being in the right phase.
Yeah,
because he's like, I swear we were only there for yay long, but it's in this phase, which would have meant we were there for a really long time.
Yeah,
and then that's when Aragorn comments that time doesn't move the same.
Yeah, and if you ever wondered, Tolkien mapped it out.
Yeah, he literally tried to write like a visual timeline diagram to show how time passes linear in one place and arcs in another. It's
our math
weird.
Teachers would be mad we don't know what that chart is called. But yeah, it looks like
it's like a graph almost.
Yeah, like when you'd plot points on a graph in school, kind of. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's something you could do on a graphing calculator, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was just seeing him calculate these fine, minute details.
Yeah.
You had no idea he put so much time behind.
Yeah, you have no idea.
And then some of it never even made its way into the book.
Yep, and now it's just in a museum for us to see 100 years later.
Oh, and another thing, I think we mentioned this a couple times before, but these, they're described as time schemes that were meant to track character movement and events. They were literally...
Oh, this is what I kind of spoiled earlier.
Yeah, it was literally like over 12 pages, laying on their side, like landscape-wise. and it was just diagram.
They were legal size
diagram.
documents too. They were legal size papers, so they were longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just diagrams of either groups of people or single characters and events that would have been happening to them at this time or this time or this time or where they would be. It was literally just him trying to keep track of all of his own shit.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, and as a writer, I was like, damn, that's what I need to be doing for, if I'm trying to develop a world. It was rather inspiring as a writer.
Yeah, it was literally an Excel spreadsheet before Excel.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It was friggin' wild. And they had it all along the wall, you guys, like printed up. And you could just like walk down. It's like it was like 12 or 13 feet long.
Yeah,
like it was big. Yeah.
It was a lot. It was crazy. It was so fun to look. And so that was from the late 1940s is when he made that particular spreadsheet, essentially.
Hell yeah. One of the other things, the little minutia that we found that he actually had written out was a form of standardized measurements for hobbits.
Yeah, as we know, in Hobbiton, they have their own time measurements. We know that the years are measured differently than the standard year measurements. And so likewise, they have a whole bunch of their own other measurements. And he had a whole page devoted, just scribbled full with just length measurements of length that hobbits use, which it's so funny, but it's also so immersive. Like, they have all of their own terms, all of their own lengths. They actually correspond to something directly. He's got it all written out.
I got it all here for you guys.
You want to throw a few out at us?
Let's throw a few out. So, one nail, that's their standard length measurement, all right?
Okay.
So 3 nails equals 1 toe.
Okay.
6 toes equals 1 foot.
So this must be close to, like, a nail must be something like an inch or a
like
centimeter.
An inch or so, yeah.
Or a centimeter or whatever.
Yeah, so, and he did say, originally said 6 nails, but he crossed it out and wrote 3. So 3 nails, 1 toe, 6 toes in a foot, 3 feet in 1 step, 6 feet in 1 2-step, or a long gate, or a fathom. 6 feet is also a fathom. And then he's also got land measurements. So 1 pace equals something step. 2 paces equals 1 gate. 12 paces or 6 gates is 1 stripe. And 140 paces is 72 gates or 12 stripes. And 2 runs, that's of course 1 sulliony.
Of course.
And 1,728 paces, or 864 gates, is 6 sullionies. And I just read this whole fucking thing, by the way.
Just to finish it.
So 1,728 gates equals 1 pace smith.
Oh, yes.
And 1 long stride.
Naturally.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, guys. That's all you need to know to measure things in the Shire.
Now we all know how to measure things accurately in the Shire.
In the Shire.
Or at least we know what nomenclature to use.
Yes.
What units of measurement.
1 sulliony.
1 sulliony, a couple nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. We saw these things when we were walking by, and we just nerded out over them for forever.
Yeah, it was.
We walked through this exhibit twice, and each time it took
noticed
us an
something.
hour.
Yeah, it took us an hour both times.
So another thing we found was an early sketch of Minas Tirith, and right next to it was a diagram of Minas Tirith from the top down, and this was from 1944 and 1946 respectively, which is really cool. Very early versions of what he imagined the city to be.
Really sick, you guys.
Very cool looking.
And then, the 2-toned map of Middle Earth, the one that's in the back of all the fold-out maps of all the books.
Yeah, so we're talking when we say the 2-tone map, we're talking about the one that's generally black and white outside of the red.
Yeah, and that's from 1954. We literally saw the original hand-drawn motherfucking map, you guys.
That's right. That map is, I feel like that's a famous map. Like, that is
it's so famous.
It's so well known. You'll find it in a lot of versions of the Silmarillion.
Always.
You'll find it in some of the versions of the Lord of the Rings, because this is a Third Age Middle Earth map.
Yep.
But it's the one that has like the names in red.
It's
text.
my favorite of his maps.
Yeah, the black and white and red text. It's like that's like Tolkien maps. Everyone sees that and you recognize it.
Exactly.
And we saw the picture that everyone knows. Well, we can throw a picture up so you guys know which one we're referencing.
Yeah,
we saw the original in person.
You could see the creases on the paper.
Yeah,
where he had folded it up.
Yep, and that is original from 1954.
Yes.
Oh, and right nearby, something that was much older and even cooler.
This was sick. It was all on a faded-ass piece of notebook paper.
Faded-ass piece, and it looked like it might have been done in some pencil and stuff.
Yeah.
But this was an early map of Beleriand. But in this map, it was actually called Brosliand. Broseliand.
Brosliand,
Before
the land of bros.
The land of bros.
Bros.
Yeah, so this was clearly before he had landed on the name of Beleriand, but still.
Yeah, and this is from the 1920s, dogs.
This is from the 1920s.
This is, just after the war had ended.
This is very, very early. So this was, must have been right after he started fleshing out his Fall of Gondolin.
Had to have been.
Because the actual map is fairly accurate to what
Valerian...
Beleriand...
it looked more or less the same, except for some of the names are different.
It looked more or less the same. Doriath was where it normally is. A lot of the rivers are right where they are, and kingdoms are right where they are. Even wrote out where there were like some orc raids that were going to happen. In the future.
He did. Yeah.
Everything looked more or less as it does in the final map. It's just called Beleriand instead of Brosliand. It was really cool.
Really, really cool, guys. That was one of my favorite things, too.
Oh, and over by these maps...
This is sick.
This was... really cool. There was a old signaling manual called the British Captain E.J. Solano's Signaling Manual, which was something that was apparently standard given out to soldiers in the British military to help them understand how to read maps and how to write their own maps. And this is clearly what influenced Tolkien in his style of map making.
Yeah, it was totally weird, guys, because it was like seeing Tolkien's maps broke down into the key.
Yeah, they had a part of this manual. They had it opened up to a big old map key page. Like it showed you how to make map keys and like what symbols to use on maps for your map key and whatnot. And it was literally like a map key for Tolkien's maps. It was all the symbols and styles of things that he used.
Which makes sense because Tolkien's maps are notably modern and not in medieval style, which you'd think they would be.
Right, because medieval style maps are almost more like weird paintings,
pictures
of unrealistic
They're very unrealistic shapes.
Yeah, he wanted modern, accurate maps.
Yes. Also, one of the most fascinating things were the heraldic devices. So these are basically guilds for each different character.
Yeah, so this was getting this was in the final section where there was all images and stuff, and they had heralding devices, which was basically like sigils for characters.
And this was I think one of the things that was on that envelope, right?
Yep. Yeah. Some of these were straight up just doodled on envelopes.
Yep.
So some sigils that we found, this isn't all of them, but some of the sigils we found there was a sigil, or I should call it a heraldic device.
Yes.
For Gil-galad, which is really cool.
Yes.
There were multiple versions of Luthians, which were really cool.
They're all beautiful. Then we had one for Baron as well, and one for Finrod Felagund. And then, of course, one for Finarfin.
Yeah, so they were really beautiful. They were quite detailed. They were colored, and they were all just very simple little... They were almost like icons.
My favorite one was it an Eärendil one that had the Silmarils on it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that one. So it was basically how Tolkien envisioned them.
Yeah, we realized that in one of these there were the Silmarils weren't pictured, and so we realized like that means that is how he pictured the Silmarils to be.
Yeah, and they kind of had they were like a gem with like a flower. Like a lit flower in the middle.
Yeah, so it was a round. They were each round, just regular circular round white gems. And inside it had I think it was like a 5 or 6 point, just very simple 5 or 6 pointed star pattern.
Yeah.
They're beautiful. It was just really cool to know that this is how he pictured them to be. There's so many artist interpretations out there, but we're getting to see
the original shit.
What he was picturing in his head. This is it. And so a lot of these sigils, the heraldic devices, a lot of these images, they dated to 1960 or somewhere right around there.
Yeah. And last, we come to, I think, one of the most ridiculous things in the exhibit.
One of our favorite pieces. We literally laughed out loud.
We lulled you guys when we see this.
There is a lot of excessive detail throughout all of this. Like, we know he's known for excessive detail. He'll write out letters that we don't even get in the narrative.
Yeah.
He'll make maps for things and like actually measure distances. But this just made us laugh.
Yeah, it was a depiction of what he would imagine a Numenorian rug would look like. And it was an artfully done, woven, highly sophisticated pattern rug. And he's like, yeah, this is a Numenorian rug. That's what they look like.
Which, I mean, I guess it makes sense that, at some point you didn't picture
Well, if they had really
tapestries
advanced,
and
looms
things.
and stuff like that, yeah.
But is just coming across this, we're just like, he drew a picture of a rug?
A
What?
fucking rug, yeah.
He even drew pictures of rugs?
Yeah, of all
This
the
is
things.
crazy. Of all the things, he's just got everything.
Yeah, a rug.
Even the rugs, even down to the rugs.
Like, this is like the rug that they put in front of their toilet in Numenor, so it's all full of piss and stuff.
It was actually a beautiful picture of a rug.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see if there's some way that we could get it made. Although I wonder that there'd probably be copyright issues with that, but
Who knows? Yeah, we should. Does anybody know any rug makers? Hit us up.
any rug weavers out there that listen to this podcast?
Anybody in Persia
It's a
listening
very-
that makes rugs?
Very niche group of people. But so I think that's about all we're going to go over for you today, guys. If you want to hear more about this exhibit, you can check out our bonus content where you can hear us react as we walk through it. That was very fun. Also, if you really want to know, go check it out. Again, it's there until December 23rd, I believe. Yes, December 23rd of this year.
And Milwaukee's a fine town. I had a good time there.
It is a beautiful place, and it's an hour north of Chicago. It's got very similar vibes.
Yeah.
You're right on the big old Lake Michigan.
Michigan.
And we went, it's just about peak fall right now.
Yeah.
And it was just gorgeous driving out there. Very scenic. So
Yeah, it's fun. Old I-94.
But even if it weren't, you'd still be worth it just to check out this. Go check out this exhibit while it's there. This is a once-in-a-lifetime.
Once-in-a-lifetime, for real.
Once-in-a-lifetime opportunity,
You'll
you guys.
never regret it.
So just a few final thoughts. This exhibit is amazing. Make sure you go support them and support the museum.
Yeah, we went on a day that was free because we're freeloaders. No. It was because it was a celebration.
Actually, it was a celebration. It just so happened our schedules timed out that we went on, it was Community Day.
Yeah.
So they had some cool community activities, like
they had some book
in the
bindings
museum, bookmark bindings,
bookmark binders,
and then there was some coloring for kids, and then they even did story times. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and then what else happened that we kind of dominated in, but not quite?
Oh, we almost fucking forgot.
Yeah,
trivia.
We did trivia, you guys, and we
did
came
trivia.
In a glorious second place finish, I would say.
We almost clinched that first. So it came down to, we were second place with 40 points, and the first place folks had 42 points.
Yep.
So it was so close.
So close.
And Mal had to point out that had we had listened to her for a couple answers, we would have won.
We would have won if we listened to Joel's wife.
It's true.
Listen to your wives, gentlemen.
Listen to your wives. It's true. We would have won. But it was a lot of fun. It was a really fun day to go. There was a lot of good people in the community, and the people who work at the museum were fantastic.
Really, really friggin' nice people.
Yeah,
really.
they're super interested in the content too. It was really fun to talk to them about all this, and just to see the other people there. Just experiencing Community Day.
Yeah.
And then just like walking through the exhibit as like someone, like a curator is like holding up a picture book of The Hobbit and like doing story time with the kiddos. It was a wonderful atmosphere.
Yeah, it was cool. We met some nerds while we were playing.
We did.
Yeah, because the team next to us they were third place, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they were really good too.
They were fantastic.
Yeah, and they were funny too. They had a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, we had a good time hanging out with you.
We had a wonderful time, and we hope that you guys did too. It was an amazing experience, and we're happy to share it with you. And we hope that everyone listening will get to, some sense of that shared experience, through this.
Yeah.
So we figured we'd just kind of end things off here with an excerpt from
I love this.
From the director's foreword from Susan Long Henry. She is the director and chief curator at the Haggerty Museum of Art. We thought this was a great way to wrap things up. Haggerty Museum of Art staff members frequently receive inquiries from visitors who know about Marquette's Tolkien manuscript collection and want to personally experience those authentic original objects documenting Tolkien's creative process. Almost without exception, those visitors express awe, wonder, and a strong sense of connection with simply the idea of those manuscripts. For many of them, Tolkien's work is an important part of their lived experience. I am, therefore, so very grateful to the many people who shared the vision for this exhibit and who made it a reality.
Wow. Yeah, I love that excerpt.
Beautiful. And
That's
we
so
were
cool.
and we were so happy to participate.
We were so happy to participate, so lucky to see it. And yeah, it was a religious experience. Like she said, just the idea of those manuscripts, those are things he touched, things he wrote on.
I think you mentioned when we were recording ourselves walking through that these are like relics to us.
These are relics to us, yeah. And if you're a Tolkien nerd at all, they should be relics to you too. And it's incredible to see him in person. I feel really lucky to have done so.
Yeah, it was amazing. So thank you to the Haggerty Museum of Art for this exhibit. It was a once in a lifetime experience.
Once in a lifetime opportunity.
We will never forget.
And while we're thanking people, let's thank again our patrons from Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Well, first let's touch on next week.
Oh, yeah. No, I figured this would be different than the one at the end, just because we'll give them an extra one, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Oh, yes, of course. Thank you for allowing us to make this whole trip to the whole museum. Like we said, it was because of you that we were able to afford the gas and the fees to be able to get out there.
It was all you guys.
So thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this, and we hope you enjoy the extra content to go along with it.
Yeah, this is what happens when you donate to the Patreon, guys. Cool-ass content.
Cool things happen.
Cool things happen.
So that's all we've got for you today for episode 69.
69, hell yeah.
Next week, we got episode 70, where we will be doing our in-depth review of Season 1 of The Rings of Power. So we did our weekly reacts up until now, which were kind of just that. They're just simple reactions. But we're going to do some deep diving into some lore and information for you and give you a full review of Season 1 next week. So stay tuned.
Hell yeah, guys. Thanks for listening to KOT Podcast. And once again, for the third time, thanks our patrons.
Thanks to our patrons.
Woo. If you want to be a patron and support us, go to www.patreon.com/KOT Podcast.
Yeah, it helps us bring you great new content at the same level of quality you come to expect.
And if you don't believe us, we just gave you an episode.
We just did it. We just did it. So just rewind. Just hit rewind.
Just hit rewind, brothers.
And if monthly donations are not your speed, that's totally fine. If you're someone who just prefer to make a one-time donation, that is totally fine. We can make that happen. We've got PayPal or other services, so just contact us on one of our social medias or by email, and we'll make it work. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And you just go to that website /KeepOnTolkien.
Yes. And join us on our social media. Join our Discord. There will be a link to join in the episode description here. And pretty much every description on our YouTube also has links now, I believe.
Yes. So come join the Discord. It is a wonderful community of people.
Yeah, we love our Discord. We interact with them every day. If you want to be like friends with us,
hop on Discord and hang out with us.
Hop on the Discord. Start some shit, you know? No, I'm just joking. Don't start some shit.
Don't start shit.
Follow us on Twitter @KOT Podcast.
And then don't forget to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/official Keep On Tolkien. And if you're on the Facebook, don't forget to join the KOT Talk group. You can ask questions and join in discussions and share pictures and memes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and follow us on Instagram @KeepOnTolkien Podcast. And don't forget to check out our new merch store, of course. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, check out the KOT merch.
Designed by us and our friends, and it's cool shit. And also, we want to talk about that we really like tmail.com. It took us a while to find a ethical
an ethical company, yes.
Yeah. So, and we found them, and they're really great. Check out all their cool stuff. It says on the bottom of our store, it says all their spiel. Read that.
Yeah.
They're great. So that would be keep-on-tolkien-podcast.tmail.com.
Yeah. All right, folks. That's all we got for you today. I'm Joel N.
And I'm Danny J.
And as always, keep on Tolkien.
Oh, Ray and Tulaba. Thank you, Milwaukee. Thank you, Haggerty Museum of Arts.